Welcome to Zestful Aging, where I interview inspiring, fascinating women who are navigating aging with class and sass. I'm your host, Nicole Christina. Hey everyone, I am so grateful for all of the downloads, and I'd love a rating on iTunes and a comment. And please subscribe. It helps the show's rating so other people can find it and learn how to age well. And if you are loving the podcast, why not check out the companion online course, Zestful Aging, Simple and Sustainable Habits for Health and Longevity. You can access it through my website, NicoleChristina.com/Zestful Aging. It's based on the Harvard study of adult development, and I'm really proud of how it's turned out. Well, I've got my coffee in my hand and my trusty dog Sparky beside me, so let's begin. I have a special connection to our guest today, even though I've never met her and likely never will. Conni Marshall is a retired Texas public school teacher specializing in physics. That's one of the reasons I'll never meet you, Conni, because I don't know how to do physics.
That's quite all right.
Now she teaches math to GED students and people studying for college entrance exams. Conni describes herself as 65 years young, and she taught her first Zumba class on her 58th birthday and has been teaching for the past 7 years. Conni and her husband started fostering dogs for the Underdog Express Transport program about 3 years ago, and this program transports foster dogs from Texas to Syracuse, New York, about every other week. It's a really well-oiled machine and depends on many volunteers to make it work. And I can tell you from personal experience that people line up, and it doesn't matter the weather, at Helping Hounds Dog Rescue in New York, and many have already put holds on the dogs after seeing their faces and profiles on Facebook. And one of these people was yours truly, who adopted a wonderful Australian Shepherd mix named Johnny. Johnny was found with his traveling buddy. Both were starving, and Conni helped bring them in and rescue them. And they have their own mini documentary showing their rescue and their road back to health. Conni and her husband have fostered about between 60 and 70 dogs, and she describes it as a joyful and heartbreaking experience. And it is so lovely to have you on the show, Conni.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
So let's start out with, we both like to talk about dogs, but I'm going to talk about, I want to start with your philosophy of aging. Can you tell me a little bit about your guiding principles of being a woman of a certain age?
Well, as an older age, I assume you mean. But yes. But I don't feel real old, although the body sometimes tells me different. But I feel like I just want to do as much as I can while I can. I so love teaching Zumba with older ladies or any ladies, and just sharing the joy of dance. And we just feel like my husband and I both, we love to take advantage of our health, because we know lots of people don't have it at our age, and we're very blessed to have that. And we want to just do what we can, having a good time and being productive.
Mm-hmm. And did you sort of adopt this aging philosophy from anyone in particular? Did you say, I want to be like so-and-so, they're really doing it well?
Well, both of my parents lived to a ripe old age. They were both 89 when they passed away and lived life to the fullest. My dad did have Alzheimer's, so I saw how quickly that can change your lifestyle. So that's always in the back of your mind, knowing that things can change suddenly and you want to do what you can as long as you can. I've had lots of good role models, and I have so many lovely friends that are older than I that just, are such role models as far as keeping up with everything and living life as much as they can while they can. So.
I see. So it sounds like you support each other.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. We feel like we're a real good support system for each other, and it makes it lots of fun.
Have you lived in the same area for many years?
I have. I have. Ever since soon after we married, we moved and lived here in Burke Burnett, and my husband was a coach, and I started teaching, and we've lived here ever since.
So you know some of these women from way back.
Yes, although it's funny, in my retirement with my different activities that I really didn't have much time for while I was teaching full time. Now with these different activities, it seems like I have a whole new great set of friends from different circumstances, and that's really cool to me that I thought, gosh, just a few years ago I didn't know so many of the people that I cherish so much right now and honor and love to be around.
And that, as we know from the research, I'm going to have to sort of weave a little bit of my geekiness in here, if you
Go
don't
right
mind.
ahead.
It's like that social stuff is gold. It's just the gold for your body and your heart.
I believe so, for sure.
Were
Yes.
you ever thinking about leaving the area to retire, or did you always know you would stay put?
Well, actually, we are still thinking at some point. We have 2 children in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, one in Austin, and we have thought of moving closer to them, and still may. We're enjoying what we're doing right now. My husband just retired fully. This is his first year. He's also a teacher, and so I'm still pretty busy and active with different types of jobs here. So I don't know how soon that will be, but we have talked about it.
When did you start? This is I'm trying to think. How shall I ask this? But have you always loved dogs, Connie?
Oh, for sure, yes. We were always a family with animals, and as most kids are. Well, a lot of kids I knew that. When you grow up, let's just be a zookeeper, or I'm going to have a. My youngest son is still saying, I still think, Mom, that we need to find us a farm and we're going to have an animal sanctuary. So his goal is to make lots of money so we can go do that someday.
Yeah.
So, yes, we're a family of animal lovers.
He's your son, huh?
Right.
He really has that.
They all are, yes.
Yeah,
They all are.
And so you've always loved animals. You came up that way. And then how did you think to yourself, I know, I'm going to start fostering dogs?
Honestly, it really hadn't crossed my mind much until when I had retired and had more time and was teaching Zumba. I did a Zumbathon for the Emily's Legacy Rescue and spoke to the founder, her name is Kimber, and just heard more about fostering and so forth, and still wasn't convinced that I was set out, to do that I would be good for that. I was, like most people think, oh, I'll never be able to give up the dog, and it'd be so hard and all that. But then with Underdog Express, it wasn't called that at that time, but the transport program, you keep the dogs for a shorter amount of time, and I thought, this would be a good way to try it. They needed a foster for some dog right away, and I thought, okay, I'm going to give this a try, and my husband was all aboard, and so that was our first bit into it, and thoroughly enjoyed it, and saw our dog off in just a matter of a couple of weeks, and then saw him adopted quickly in New York, and we just thought the process was wonderful. So
that's something I think a lot of people listening, because we go out all over the world, they don't know like you and I do how this goes. I mean, when I said it's a well-oiled machine, right? Am I?
It is. Oh
Isn't
my
it
goodness.
something? Can
Yes,
you
it
talk a
is.
little bit about all this sort of Facebook stuff and the video? Can you talk a little bit about how this
Okay.
goes
Well,
so people know what we're talking about?
yes. We have people in our area that pull dogs from local shelters or that just have their eye out for animals that need a place to be saved. And we do, check on them, make sure that they're good personality. We uh, usually do a heartworm test. And then we find fosters for them. It's completely foster based. So all the dogs that go to New York have been in foster at least 2 weeks, which is that's just such a huge advantage to anyone adopting, to be able to know something about the dog. When you get it from a shelter, there's so many
Hmm.
unknowns. So anyway, the fosters take them in. We have lots of people that kind of help and give advice to the fosters. They make sure all the vetting is taken place. That is done with donations. Fosters are not responsible for any of that expense, although we have so many kind and generous ones that do, contribute regularly. The fosters do the best they can with potty training, crate training, leash training, all that, just socialization generally, so that we can speak to their personality and what kind of
Hmm.
home they would do best in. And then as the time gets closer, we have to do a health certificate that the vet does, and our Jan Herzog is the one that oversees the program for us, and she has a
Hmm.
huge job to coordinate all, make sure that all the dogs have had all the vetting they're supposed to and all the paperwork's in order. And we write profiles. It's a standard form, and we talk about how well they do with other dogs, with children, their potty training, just anything we can to help the prospective owners know more about them.
You take pictures too?
Yes, we take pictures,
Hmm.
and that's even something that's gotten to be more well oiled. We have a special day at our Pets Low Cost Clinic, which is the partner with Underdog Express, and we have some volunteer photographers that will go up and take really beautiful pictures of the dogs. But a lot of the fosters take pictures themselves, and we send the pictures. They make a slideshow so you guys see them there in New York, and we start
Hmm.
getting comments pretty quickly. Tell us more about this dog. Tell us more, and we're happy as fosters to do so.
Hmm.
And so the Wednesday before you guys get them on Saturday, they arrive there on Saturday, but that Wednesday is when we take them up, and they get on a truck, and we say goodbye to them with some tears many times, but we get them on the truck, and they have a bag that has some goodies that we've packed for them. We write a letter.
Their care package.
Yes, that goes with some tears. And the letter usually has some contact information. That's what I always love to include, because I so love hearing from the new owners. The dogs get on the truck, and they're taken great care of the dogs, the whole way. They take them and walk them along the way and so forth.
And this is like an 18-wheeler
Yes, a
with
huge
paw
truck.
prints all over. I mean, this is not like a
Right.
little van. This is a
No,
serious
right.
enterprise.
And you hear people that ask about it, and they think, oh, those poor dogs on that truck, but they're very well taken care of. These people know what they're doing, and are so kind to the dogs. They're individually crated real safely, and of course it's climate controlled and so forth, so they're comfortable along the way. And they arrive. I don't know I guess it's Friday night, maybe late to the area, and then Saturday morning is when they unload, and that's what we get to see a live feed of them getting off the truck. We love that.
Oh,
Everybody's
oh,
tuned in.
that's the part that I mean, I don't know about the world of fosters outside of helping hounds, but to see that and then knowing that you guys are seeing your babies getting off,
Yes.
and then in just a little while the line starts and they
Yes.
come down, and then you'll see on the feed people saying, oh, there's so and so, he's
Yes.
looking great. And so it's
Right.
this like it's this community.
It really is.
And it's like, we're never going to meet you. But, there's this love flowing both ways.
Yes.
And when you watch it, all the hearts are, jumping all over the screen. And it's such and I have to give credit to Lee Newman, who is the one of the main administrators at Helping Hounds. And boy, she is just one competent woman.
Really?
And she has, she just organizes these things in such a thorough way. And, they just keep getting awards. And and you go to the dog park and you say, oh, Helping Hounds. Yeah, mine's from Texas. And the other day I was saying, oh, is that a Texas dog? Yes. And I said, oh, is it Samantha's? I mean, we start to get to know the names. It's like the funniest network.
That is so funny. And I know Samantha, yes. Oh my goodness, that is so funny. We are so amazed, and we show everyone we can, when you're trying to talk to people about the program and what we need so desperately. Of course, funds. We do have lots of generous people that help us with that, and we have grants and so forth that Pets has applied for, and they work so hard to get. But the big thing is our fosters. It's very hard to get fosters. We could probably be sending more. We have, I work with Emily's Legacy, which is a local rescue, and we have fosters for that too, but those are for local adoptions. And we can adopt out locally puppies fairly easily, or small dogs fairly easily. But when you see some of these big black labs and, border collie mixes that we see so many in the shelters that would be euthanized, that's what would happen for sure. And we're able to pull those and send them there and see them get out of the truck, and they're adopted that day, and it's just the best feeling in the world.
You and I have talked about this, trying to understand together the culture of Texas and New York, and the questions that we've asked, how come there's so many places here that, they're lining up in the sleet. You can see them, waiting to meet the dog that may have reserved, or to see who's left over, trying to put together, why are there so many dogs in Texas that are surrendered, and what's the story in New York? And I incorrectly told you that you had to spay and neuter to get a license. That is not true.
Oh, it's not? Okay.
No,
okay.
But there's, maybe somebody can comment in and help me with this, but there are programs for spay and neutering that are very active here. So maybe that's part of it. Hello, Zestful Agers. A short intermission to thank you for the incredible amount of downloads. I love creating this podcast, and it's so satisfying to know that you are enjoying it too. Creating and hosting Zestful Aging has been a blast, but it does require a lot of time and resources to deliver a high-quality interview to you every week. So I've signed up with Patreon, which is kind of like Kickstarter, but for ongoing artistic projects. Unlike Kickstarter, the donations are recurrent and the amount is usually smaller. When you become a patron of Zestful Aging, you will receive special benefits like behind-the-scenes info, a place to communicate with other listeners, as well as other patron-only bonuses. These funds will be used to make equipment upgrades, particularly for mobile interviewing, and to travel to interview guests, like to New York City to interview participants in the Diversity Fashion Show. I also need to hire a professional editor. So please go to patreon.com/Zestful Aging and make a small but vital donation. Thank you for contributing to the ongoing success of Zestful Aging, and I can't wait to bring you more juicy, inspiring interviews. Now back to the show. You said something about there's a lot of land in Texas, and one of the things that you're dealing with is people dumping dogs.
Yes, yes. I think they feel like somebody will just pick them up, and they feel maybe a little less guilty than sending them to the shelter, thinking they'll be put down there. It's a real problem, especially right here in Burke-Burnett. They dump them out in the country, and they're really our jurisdiction, the Burke-Burnett Shelter's jurisdiction, isn't out there, so there's really no one. I guess the county could take them in. So there's been a couple of bunches of dogs. I had one bunch called the River Dogs. That's what I named them after rivers, and they went. And then we had the dogs that were dumped by the bridge just here recently. That one was Bridget. All three of them, I believe, went to New York and were adopted there. So that's very hard too for our friends who live out in the country that have dogs dumped around their house, and they try to do right by them, but you can only take in so many dogs,
What do you think? I mean, I know this is a hard question, but do you have any sense of what the thought process is that I don't want these dogs, they're too many?
Yes.
Is that what it is? That
I do.
They're extra dogs, or
I think that they just didn't get them neutered, and so of course puppies, a bunch of puppies have occurred, and now they're overrun with dogs, or they just feel like that they, in their lifestyle right now, they can't handle the dogs they have, or I don't know. It's just one of those cases that we see so much of, people maybe just not valuing the dog as part of the family.
I remember when I was young, we lived in New Hampshire, and what would happen is people would vacation up there. They would come from more of the urban areas, Massachusetts, like Boston or New York, and at the end of the summer, they would dump the dogs.
Oh, really?
They were going back home, and the dog, I guess, was just sort of a summer kind of entertainment. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So how do you deal? I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but how do you deal with the painful aspects of rescuing these dogs?
Well, I do think that in some ways I've kind of just steeled myself, and we all say this to each other. We're part of it is just support we can give each other. We cannot save them all. We'd love to, but we cannot. We have to keep our mind on, we have to be able to devote our time and energy to dogs that can be adopted, that will be happy in other homes. We come across many that are so very fearful that, snap, bite, that kind of thing, that we know cannot safely go into a family. So there are times we just can't do anything, But it's a very hard thing, but what we have to keep telling ourselves is, if we didn't, there would be many, many more put down. As hard as it is to give them up, if we didn't take them in and keep them for a while and have some tears when they go, that dog would have been put down. It's just kind of as simple as that, and that's what we tell people when they say, "Oh, I could never do that." It kind of makes you feel guilty in a way, thinking that they're thinking that you're not loving the dog, that you must not have made a connection. So, how else could you let them go?
Oh, I see.
Which, and
you
that
don't
may not
care. What's the big deal?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that may not be the thought process at all. But it does kind of make you feel that way when people tell you over and over, "I could never do that. I'm too soft-hearted. I'd love them too much." Like we don't love them too. You know what I mean? We love them so much, and it is hard. But it's easier knowing and seeing what I've seen over the years, and I think the same for all fosters, and we try to convince new fosters of that. Wait till you see the dog get off the truck and be loved on by your volunteers, and the nice home that it goes to, and that you're hopefully going to get some letters and messages about how well the dog's fitting in, and wonderful pictures, and That's what makes it all so much easier the next time around.
I've been, obviously following this, and I see that you get a lot of pictures of first time in snow. Is that,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes, we love that. We never tire of it. That's what I try to tell my fosters, because especially there's times when I'll hear from them a lot. They'll send lots of pictures and say something like, "Oh, I'm sorry I'm sending so many, but we just love him or her." And I said, "Oh, listen,
Oh,
there's never too
oh,
many. It's like your child that's gone across the country. You want to see everything that's going on."
oh. So this is a funny question, but I'm wondering if you believe that dogs have a soul.
Hmm. I do. I think I do believe they have a soul. They certainly all have personalities and different, oh, I don't know, different levels of compassion, and I guess I do. I don't know. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure I know how to answer that exactly, but I do feel like pretty much any living thing does.
Mm-hmm. So you can relate to them even on that level.
Yeah, yeah. I believe I can. I think most everybody has felt that with certain animals, more so than others, some more than others, but we've had so many that have just touched our lives, in so many
Mm-hmm.
ways. We had that probably the dog that started us realizing how many great ones are in shelters was our dog Zeus. He was a Pyrenees sheepdog mix, and just I went to I went to turn in a bird that had there's a bird rescue place, and that was the drop off point, and my son and I just happened to walk by and see this huge
Mm.
dog that was emaciated. Anyway, he became our dog, and he became a therapy dog, and he was just beyond the best, and
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of what made me think, there's probably lots and lots and lots of dogs out there that could touch lives, and he touched not just our lives, but lots of lives. We visited severe profound classrooms and libraries, and so I believe they all have a
Hmm.
place and they all have a purpose, and we just have to give them a chance.
So you adopted Zeus, who was a rescue, who was in bad shape. You got him loved up and healed up, and then you took him to classrooms. What was that like?
Oh gosh, that was just so wonderful. I had to go through a training, and he had to be certified. He had to pass some tests, but then once he has the certification, it was our local elementary school, and it was a severe profound special ed classroom where most of the children were not ambulatory. I think only one could walk, severely autistic, just all kinds of issues. And it was just the most heartwarming thing ever to be able to take Zeus in and see the difference and the light come on. Children that would not even look you in the eye, or you couldn't even tell that they heard you,
Mm-hmm.
would respond to Zeus.
Really? What was it like? They would look at him or
Yes, smiles for the first time.
smiles.
I remember taking the one girl who could walk, and when she was being good, she was allowed to go with us and walk down the hall, and we walked into the office to say hello to the secretary, and the secretary said, "Hi," little girl's name, Catherine, and "How are you doing? Who do you have there?" And she says, "Zeus." And then the secretary just kind of was wide-eyed. That was the first time she had heard the little girl say anything.
Oh,
And talk about
wow.
tears. I can cry just thinking
Oh,
about it.
wow. So
Just
how
things like that.
touching.
Yeah,
How it got through all those levels of
right,
wherever she is in her, in her little body and her world,
right.
separate from the daily world. Zeus got through.
Yeah, yeah. And I just feel like there's so many animals that can do the same, and that we, like I said, give them a chance and see what they can do to touch your life, and do our best to make their lives a good life.
Hmm. What have you learned about dogs since you've been rescuing? I'm sure being a dog owner is one thing, but then having, 60 or 70 dogs pass through your home,
Yes.
you learn. What?
Yeah, I've benefited so much from all the people. There's so many way more knowledgeable than I am, and I, fall back on their expertise so often. But I've learned so much about dog diseases and um, just the care of them, training, what is important to do to make them a good pet. Um, I do. I feel like that I can actually give some advice now. I'm not that great, but I do feel like I've learned so much about certain situations when someone will say, "Oh, I can't get my dog to go in a crate," and we've got files that tell you about what you might try for that, and just all kinds of information about what the legalities of pulling a dog from a shelter and what we have to be careful about and what might indicate the dog will not make a family pet. I've gotten to be a lot more objective about that. It's so hard. We have a very small shelter here in Burke, and that's where I pull from. And when they call, they're so good about usually not even offering a dog to us unless they feel it's a good, safe dog. But you never know. I can tell you that I've pulled some that didn't work. You just don't know. And our big issue is pits. We have pit bulls, which I have no problem with pit bulls, but we have a huge abundance of them. And
That's who's in our shelters too, in our
right,
SPCA. Yep.
right. And it's just so heartbreaking to go into a vet's office and find somebody there with their intact male pit or a pit that they had bred to have puppies, and I'm thinking, oh, please, people, don't you know what happens to all these puppies? It's just heartbreaking. So.
Would you be able to give some advice to our listeners if they're thinking of adopting a dog? What are the kinds of things that they should take into account? What are the kinds of things they should be thinking about?
Okay. The one thing is just if they have small children, it's always a big issue if the dog is friendly with children, and not necessarily just friendly, but the size of the dog. A dog that can knock over a child. Do you have small children that will be walking around with food in their hand that is tempting to any dog?
Oh.
You have to be very responsible if you have small children and dogs, because the dog can do something that just any dog would do, but now it's doomed because it's snapped at the food and bit the child, and that kind of thing is very hard. We do teach the dogs they're crate trained, so a crate is a good, safe place to keep them. But of course, we want our dogs to have a life. So if you really don't have time to walk your dog and to let it have lots of outdoor time and that kind of thing, then maybe it's not a time in your life that you want a dog right then.
It's such a time commitment that people have to consider. Yeah, your life kind of has to revolve around them a little bit, I guess.
It does, and they can fit into a life easily, or it can be quite a chore sometimes, and you've got to have lots of patience. I can't tell you. We just had to replace my laptop cord that got chewed up by our present. It can be expensive.
Yes,
but again, it wasn't the puppy's fault. It was my fault. I left, wasn't watching. You've got to be very responsible and know that puppies are puppies. And I do think people so often want a puppy, whereas to me it seems like their lifestyle would be better fit with an adult dog. I think we tend to overlook them, but it seems like you guys in New York don't do that so much, so I love that. But if you can get a dog that's over the puppy phase, it fits into a life so much more easily.
I agree. I've had puppies, and You have to wake up in the middle of the night. It's like having a newborn.
Oh, it is. It is. It's just a huge thing, and they are darling, but they do grow up. They all are going to be adult dogs just like the others. And you know, if you adopt an adult dog, you know what it looks like, what size it's going to be. Its temperament is there for you to see. And so I really encourage people to think about adult dogs. We do it. We take in lots of litters of puppies. Well, there's story after story, but the puppies do tend to get adopted easily here, or fairly easily, depending on the breed. Again, pit puppies not so much, but most people are very willing to take a puppy in.
I know there's been some change in thinking about the whole sort of Caesar Milan alpha dog. Do you have any thoughts about that?
You know, I see some things posted about, but no, I really can't speak to that. I don't know. I know that just from the posts that I've seen from friends that it's come into disfavor, but I don't really know exactly why, to tell you the truth. So I probably wouldn't be very good to speak to that.
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I think my understanding is he's very much like, I'm the boss, there's an alpha, I'm in charge. And I think some people say it's a little more complicated, that yes, there's a hierarchy, but it can kind of change, and there's a sharing, and sometimes so my understanding is that it's a bit more complicated than there's an alpha, but yeah, I've seen that as well. Can you give me a link that I can put in the program notes, Connie, that would be helpful for some of your fundraising for your rescue efforts?
Oh, gosh. I may have to think about that, exactly how to do that.
Like if Emily's Legacy, would that be a good place to start?
Emily's Legacy, we certainly have. We have a Facebook page, and we have a website that has a donation button.
Is it emilyslegacy.org?
Oh, gosh. I'm not positive.
Okay, that's okay.
I may have to. I think it is .org. I think
you know
it is
what?
.org.
I can actually look it up before I put it down.
Okay.
And if there's a donation page, then our listeners can certainly find it. And I will also, I'm going to put up the Helping Hound Dog Rescue link
well,
as
and
well.
I do the dogs from here that go through two Helping Hounds. That's through the Pets Underdog Express. So that's it's PETS. It's our low-cost spay-neuter clinic that does so much good work. They Leslie Harrelson is in charge of that, and she's partnered now with Underdog Express, and so we're able to do lots of the vetting at a very good price. And
so it's petsunderdogexpress.org, I'm sure.
I believe that's
Yeah?
it. I should have looked that up.
No, that's fine.
know.
I'll go ahead and check that out, because it'll be nice for people after listening to this. I think will feel like, they want to donate to
that'd be
your
great.
cause.
That would be. It takes about 170, I believe, was the last figure I heard, to do the vetting for a dog. When we adopt one out locally, then we do charge an adoption fee, so that helps to pay for the vetting that we've done, because we don't ever adopt them out until they've had all their shots and so forth and neuter. If they're old enough for neuter. If not, then we make the appointment for that to happen later. But if they're going to New York, we don't recoup any of that money, which is fine. We've saved a dog, but we do have to do fundraising to pay for every bit of that.
I
and
see.
It's
I've
about
seen that.
It's about $170 a piece, if I'm not mistaken, to take care of everything that we need to take care of.
Yeah.
And then I guess New York pays for the transport. I believe that's the way it works.
That's great. Is there anything else you want to share before we say goodbye today? Anything else that you want the listeners to know about your experience rescuing?
Well, just that it's something that I don't regret for a minute, and I do hope many other people will consider it, look into it, let people who are now fosters give them advice, tell them their stories and let them know how much it does help. And I would love to let everybody know that has dealings with Helping Hounds what a great organization and how grateful we are here to be able to send dogs there and know that they're going to have a great home. I got a number today. I asked Jen Herzog, and I believe it's 1,600 something dogs that we have sent here that most certainly would have been euthanized.
And now they're members of, families. They're being loved. And it's not only that we're saving them. I mean, they are giving so much to us.
I hear that a lot. I do, yeah. I've got some great Facebook friends through this that have, adopted dogs that I've fostered, and it's so cool to hear the stories, that how the dogs complete them, and that they've become a part of their family that they love.
And it's, you're doing this zestful aging thing in such a big way in terms of finding purpose and meaning and being with your people and moving. I mean, you're like a zestful aging all-star.
Oh, well, thank you. I don't know about that, but I do feel like that I'm very blessed to be able to do the different things I do. Sometimes I think, okay, I've got to give up something, but I don't know what it would be because I'm enjoying it all. So I guess that's what counts.
That's what keeps you lively and vibrant.
Yeah. Right. Well, thank you so much.
It was so lovely to have you on the show, Connie. I so appreciate you taking the time, and I so appreciate all the work you do.
Well, thank you so much. I look forward to listening to all of your podcasts and hearing all the great things that you guys are doing.
Thank you so much for joining us on Zestful Aging. I love to hear from my listeners, so send me an email at NicoleChristina.com and tell me what you'd like to hear more about. I would also greatly appreciate if you could hop on iTunes and rate the show. Ratings help other people find the podcast so I can share all these good, juicy interviews with others. I would also invite you to become a patron of the Zestful Aging podcast. Hop on over to patreon.com/Zestful Aging and consider making a small donation. You will be eligible for insider-only goodies and behind-the-scenes information, and it'll help you feel good knowing that you're contributing to the Zestful Aging podcast. I'll look forward to sharing more juicy interviews next week on Zestful Aging.